Hey guys, tonight we're going to dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft rhythmic hum, and just ease into a journey through history. A journey into the minds of those who held immense power, yet lived in constant shadow. Take a moment to get comfortable, wrap yourself in a blanket, and let the gentle rhythm of these stories carry you away. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here tonight. We're diving into the curious and often chilling world of paranoia royalty and the extraordinary lengths some of history's most powerful rulers went to just to feel safe. We're exploring the elaborate, sometimes bizarre, security measures devised by kings and emperors who saw threats lurking in every shadow, behind every smile. From whispering floors to hidden tunnels, from daily doses of poison to castles that were fortresses of fear. These are the stories of rulers who trusted no one, and the ingenious, often lonely cocoons they built around themselves. So, settle in, let your mind wander, and let's explore the secure, yet deeply isolating, worlds of history's most paranoid monarchs. Imagine this. The sun has dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and fading rose. You are standing within the immense, echoing confines of a royal bedchamber. The air, heavy with the scent of beeswax and ancient stone, seems to hold its breath. A retinue of servants, their faces impassive, moves with practiced grace, extinguishing the last flickering candles, their soft footsteps barely disturbing the thick tapestries that line the walls. The last one turns, bows low, and then with a final, almost reverential gesture, reaches for the massive door. This isn't just any door. This is the entrance to the monarch's sanctuary, a barrier between the precarious world of courtly intrigue and the fragile hope of a night's rest. It's crafted from ancient, dark oak, perhaps several centuries old, its surface polished by countless hands, yet still bearing the faint scars of time. It's so thick, so dense, it feels as though it could absorb sound, light, and even time itself. As the servant grips the heavy iron handle, you can almost feel the chill emanating from the cold metal, a tangible link to the raw power it represents. With a slow, deliberate push, the door begins its journey inward. The sound it makes is not a creak, not a groan, but a deep, resonant sigh. It is the sound of tons of ancient wood moving against air. A profound, low rumble that vibrates through the very floor beneath your feet, up through your bones and into the core of your chest. It's a sound that speaks of history of countless nights and countless secrets, sealed within these walls. The sound deepens as the door approaches its frame, a final, almost mournful exhalation. And then the thud. Not a sharp crack, but a heavy, satisfying thump. It is the sound of solid oak meeting solid oak, perfectly aligned, perfectly fitted. A sound of finality, of an impenetrable seal being formed. The air in the room shifts subtly, a pressure change as the outside world is suddenly, unequivocally excluded. For a fleeting moment, you might feel a strange sensation in your ears, a slight pressure, as if the very atmosphere inside the chamber has become denser, more contained. Now, the bolt, the true guardian of the night. The servant reaches for it, a bar of forged iron perhaps as thick as your wrist, its surface cool and smooth from generations of touch. As their fingers wrap around it, you can almost perceive the cold, metallic weight, the sheer, unyielding mass of it. They pull, and the bolt begins its slow, deliberate slide. The sound is distinct, a deep, metallic scrape against the stone of the doorframe. It's not harsh, not jarring, but a prolonged, grinding whisper, a low-frequency hum that seems to carry the weight of all the fears it's meant to contain. Imagine the friction of iron against ancient, unyielding rock, a sound that speaks of brute force and unwavering protection. It slides further and further, each millimeter a testament to the monarch's desire for security, until it finds its home. And then a clunk, a deep, resonant clunk. It's the sound of heavy iron settling into its stone socket, a sound that reverberates not just through the room, but through the very foundations of the castle. It's a sound that says definitively, closed, secured, impregnable. For a moment, you might feel a shiver, a faint echo of the finality of that sound. The silence that follows is not an absence of sound, but a presence of it. It's a silence that feels thicker, deeper, almost palpable. The world outside, with its whispers of plots, its rustle of spies, its distant cries of dissent, is now utterly, completely shut out. You might find yourself listening intently, not for sounds from without, but for the subtle sounds within the room itself, the gentle flutter of a moth against a tapestry, the faint crackle of embers in the fireplace, the slow, steady beat of your own heart. This isn't just about security, it is about ritual. Every night, this same sequence of sounds, this same tactile experience, reaffirms the monarch's isolation, their supreme authority, and their profound vulnerability. The cold touch of the metal, the vastness of the oak, the unyielding nature of the stone sewing, they all combine to create a physical manifestation of power and fear. The air, once filled with the faint echoes of the day, now seems to settle, to become still. You can almost feel the molecules of oxygen slowing, the dust motes hanging motionless in the last vestiges of light. It's a feeling of being utterly contained, sealed off from the vast, uncertain world beyond. For the king, lying in their grand bed, beneath layers of silken sheets and heavy furs, this sequence of sounds is both a comfort and a constant reminder. A comfort because it signifies safety, a temporary reprieve from the constant vigilance. A reminder because it underscores the very reason such elaborate measures are necessary, the ever-present threat. The heavy bolt, sliding into place, isn't just a piece of iron, it is a symbol of the burden of power, the weight of a crown, and the quiet, almost suffocating embrace of absolute security. The world shrinks to the size of this chamber, and within it, the monarch can, for a few precious hours, surrender to the fragile hope of sleep, protected by the cold, unyielding silence of the heavy bolt. Now, let's drift across continents, from the ancient stone castles of Europe to the elegant wooden palaces of feudal Japan. Imagine the serene beauty of Nijo Castle in Kyoto, home to the powerful Tokugawa shoguns. This isn't a fortress of thick stone walls and imposing battlements in the European style. Instead, its defenses are far more subtle, more artistic, and perhaps even more unnerving. You find yourself walking down a long, immaculate corridor within the Ninomaru Palace, the shogun's official residence. The air here is cool and dry, carrying the faint, clean scent of polished wood and perhaps a hint of distant incense. The walls are adorned with exquisite paintings, depicting cherry blossoms, majestic pines, and scenes of tranquil nature, all bathed in the soft, diffused light filtering through paper screens. It seems a place of profound peace, of quiet contemplation. But as you take your first step onto the polished wooden floor, something remarkable happens. Beneath your foot, there is a subtle, almost imperceptible shift, a tiny give in the ancient timber, and then a sound, a delicate, melodious chirp. It's not loud, not startling, but clear and distinct, like the faint song of a bird. You take another step and another, and the floor responds with a continuous, gentle symphony of squeaks and chirps, following your every movement. These are the Nightingale Floors, or uguizu, bari, a marvel of Edo, period Japanese craftsmanship. They are designed with meticulous precision, not to trip an intruder, but to announce their presence with an unmistakable, unceasing chorus. Imagine the skilled carpenters, generations ago, meticulously laying these floorboards. Beneath each board, clever metal clamps and nails are arranged in a specific way. When pressure is applied to the board, sui. When a foot steps upon it, tui. These clamps rub against the nails, creating that distinctive, bird-like sound. It is a sound that is both beautiful and deeply unsettling. Beautiful because it evokes the natural world, the gentle sounds of a forest at dawn. Unsettling because it means stealth is utterly impossible. Every single step, no matter how light, no matter how carefully placed, is betrayed by this tiny, persistent song. Feel it beneath your bare feet. The smooth, cool wood, slightly worn by centuries of footsteps. As you shift your weight, you feel that minute vibration, the subtle flex of the timber. Before the sound begins, squeak, chirp, squeak, chirp. It's a rhythmic, almost hypnotic sound, constant and unwavering. In the vast, silent corridors of the palace, this sound becomes the dominant presence. It fills the air, bouncing softly off the paper screens and wooden ceilings, creating a unique soundscape. The genius of the Nightingale floor isn't in its volume, but in its persistence. A single loud noise can be dismissed as a creak, a gust of wind, but this continuous melodic chatter following a person's every movement is undeniable. It is a living, breathing security system woven into the very fabric of the building. Consider the psychological impact. For the shogun, sleeping in his chamber, surrounded by these singing floors, it must have been a peculiar form of reassurance. Every faint chirp from the corridor would confirm the presence of a guard, a servant, or perhaps an unwelcome visitor. There would be no need for silence, no whispered conversations, no creeping shadows. Every movement was amplified, every intention laid bare by the floor's gentle song. And for those who walked these floors, the experience must have been equally profound. Imagine being a samurai, tasked with guarding the shogun, pacing these long corridors through the night. Your own footsteps would be your constant companion, a steady squeak chirp, a reminder of your vigilance. It is not a secret alarm that blares. It is a constant, low-level hum of awareness. And for an intruder, the sheer audacity of attempting to move silently across such a floor would be instantly thwarted. Every careful, tiptoeing step would be met with the same cheerful, yet damning chorus. There is no escaping it, no way to muffle the sound. It is a subtle form of psychological warfare, making the very ground beneath your feet your enemy. The echoes in these long, empty corridors would play their part too. The squeak chirp would travel, bouncing off the wooden beams, fading slowly into the distance. In the profound quiet of the palace at night, even a distant sound would carry, a tiny bell ringing across the stillness. It is a security measure that leverages beauty and nature against human deceit. The sound is not threatening, not aggressive. It is almost innocent, like a flock of birds disturbed. Yet, its purpose is deadly serious. It is a constant, gentle reminder that you are never truly alone, never truly unobserved within these hallowed halls. The nightingale floor sings its quiet, persistent song, a lullaby of vigilance that cradles the shogun in a unique, auditory embrace of security. As you take your final steps across its surface, the sound slowly fades, leaving a lingering sense of quiet awe for such an elegant, yet potent, defense. Now, let's journey back in time to the dawn of imperial China, to the reign of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, a man of immense ambition who unified a sprawling empire, constructed the Great Wall, and commanded an army of terracotta warriors. But for all his power, Qin Shi Huang lived in a state of profound paranoia, forever fearing assassination. His solution was not just a palace, but a labyrinth, a shifting, living puzzle designed to confound any would be killer. He never slept in the same bed or even the same palace 2 nights in a row. Imagine the sheer scale of his imperial complex. Hundreds of palaces, scattered across an area vast enough to be a small city. Each one a masterpiece of architecture, with sweeping roofs, intricate carvings, and courtyards filled with serene gardens. But the true genius, or perhaps the true madness of his security, lay beneath the surface. Beneath this sprawling network of palaces, a secret world existed, a vast, intricate web of underground tunnels. These weren't crude, hastily dug passages, but carefully constructed subterranean arteries, linking his multitude of residences. Picture yourself descending into one of these tunnels. The air instantly changes. It becomes cooler, damp, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient soil and rock. The oppressive heat of the surface world vanishes, replaced by a refreshing, almost chilling breeze that whispers through the darkness. As you move deeper, the only light comes from flickering torches, held by silent guards or set into wall sconces at regular intervals. Their flames dance, casting long, wavering shadows that stretch and shrink, making the smooth stone walls seem to breathe. The light is never constant, never bright, always shifting, always hinting at unseen depths. Now, imagine the emperor's journey, not on foot, but in a magnificent chariot, perhaps gilded, pulled by powerful horses or even by silently gliding mechanisms designed to traverse these underground paths. You can almost feel the low, steady rumble beneath your feet as this grand vehicle moves. It is not a jarring clangor, but a deep, resonant vibration. The sound of heavy wheels rolling over perfectly laid stone slabs. A sound that is felt as much as heard. A low-frequency hum that fills the subterranean space. The tunnels themselves are vast, wide enough for a chariot to pass comfortably, but their ceiling is low enough to create a sense of enclosure, of being utterly cut off from the sky above. The stone is cool to the touch, smooth in some places, rough and natural in others. As the chariot glides, the flickering torchlight plays tricks on your eyes. Pillars seem to emerge from the darkness and vanish just as quickly. Side passages, dark and mysterious, branch off into unknown directions, creating a dizzying sense of disorientation. No one, save a select few, knew the full extent of this underground maze. The purpose of this elaborate system was simple: to create absolute unpredictability. Each night, the emperor would choose a different palace, a different bedchamber, sometimes even a different route through the tunnels. No one, not even his closest advisors, knew his exact location until the moment he arrived. It was a game of hide and seek played on an imperial scale, with his very life as the prize. Imagine the servants, the guards, the concubines, all waiting in their respective palaces, never knowing if tonight would be the night the emperor graced their residence. The entire empire was forced to participate in this silent, unsettling game. The paranoia was so pervasive that even speaking of the emperor's whereabouts was a capital offense. Within the tunnels, the silence would be profound, broken only by the rhythmic thrum of the chariot, the soft shuffle of guards' footsteps, and the occasional drip of water echoing in the distance. Every sound would be amplified, every whisper would carry. The air, though cool, would feel heavy with the weight of secrecy and the emperor's constant vigilance. This wasn't just about avoiding an assassin's blade, it was about psychological control. By making himself an ungraspable phantom, Huang projected an aura of omnipotence and inaccessibility. He was everywhere, yet nowhere. He was the sun, yet he moved like the moon, hidden in shadows. The cool, damp air of the tunnels would be a constant presence, a reminder of the earth above and the secrets below. The flickering light, always insufficient to banish the vast darkness, would create a sense of eternal twilight. It's a world built for one man's fear, a testament to the length power will go to protect itself. He would arrive, often unexpectedly, in a palace that had been prepared for him days in advance, just in case. The sudden appearance of the imperial chariot from a hidden tunnel entrance, like a ghost emerging from the earth, must have been a chilling sight. And then, after a night of restless sleep, he would disappear again, swallowed by the underground labyrinth, leaving behind only the lingering scent of incense and the bewildered whispers of those he had left behind. The entire system was a monument to isolation. Despite ruling millions, Huang lived in a bubble of absolute secrecy, his life a perpetual journey through subterranean passages, never truly settling, never truly revealing himself. His bed was a temporary perch, his palace a temporary stop. The cool, quiet tunnels were his true home, a silent testament to a king who never slept in the same bed, forever chasing an elusive sense of security in the shifting shadows of his own creation. The heavy oak door slides shut, the thud echoing softly against the stone walls. The massive metal bolt, cold and unyielding, grinds into its ancient stone socket with a deep, resonating scrape. This is the sound of the world being sealed away. A nightly ritual that marks the boundary between the chaos outside and the fragile peace within. The air in the chamber seems to thicken, growing stiller, almost vacuum, sealed as if even the very oxygen molecules are held captive by the immense weight of the door. You might imagine the chill of the iron against the hand that pushes it, the faint tremor of the entire structure as it settles into its final, unbreachable position. Now we move from the universal act of securing a door to the very specific, and quite obsessive, measures of a king who saw threats in every shadow. Louis VI of France, often called the Spider King, wove a web of paranoia around himself at his residence, the Chateau du Plessis, Louis Tours. It wasn't enough to have thick stone walls. His castle became a labyrinth of iron. Picture, if you will, not just the usual fortifications, but layer upon layer of formidable iron grates, their cold, dark bars crisscrossing the landscape. These weren't mere decorative fences. They were formidable barriers bristling with sharp, unforgiving spikes, designed to impale or deter any who dared to approach uninvited. As the moon climbs high, casting long, stark shadows across the castle grounds, you can almost feel the chill emanating from these metal defenses. The iron grates, bathed in moonlight, gleam with a hard metallic sheen like the hardened exoskeleton of some ancient dormant creature. From his private chambers, Louis Xi would often sit, a solitary figure, peering out through the narrow slits of his windows. His gaze, sharp and restless, would follow the rhythm of his patrolling guards. You could almost hear the steady, measured clink and scrape of their armor, a metallic lullaby against the backdrop of the night. Each step, each shift of weight, would send a faint, rhythmic ding of steel against steel, a constant reminder of their presence, their vigilance. He watched them move, these tiny figures below, their movements predictable, their loyalty a constant, nagging question in his mind. The castle, with its intricate network of iron, became an extension of his own mind. Furphy, a vast, intricate trap. He was the spider at its center, ever watchful, ever listening, but also utterly confined. The very measures meant to keep him safe also held him captive. The windows meant to offer a view, instead, framed a world divided by iron bars, a constant visual echo of his own self-imposed isolation. The air within these chambers, surrounded by so much metal and stone, felt heavy, perhaps with the scent of old iron and the faint, dusty smell of ancient anxieties. It was a fortress, yes, but also a cage, a vast, cold monument to a king's unceasing fear. The clinking of cutlery against porcelain, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, yet in the hushed silence of the royal dining hall it can feel amplified, drawing your attention. This brings us to another layer of royal defense, less about walls and more about trust, or rather, the lack thereof, the ritual of the taster. It's a scene played out countless times across history, in palaces and keeps, a silent drama unfolding before the king's very eyes. Imagine the king seated at the head of a long, polished table. The room is opulent, perhaps with tapestries depicting grand hunts or ancient battles, but the atmosphere is taut, almost reverent. A servant approaches, bearing a silver tray laden with the night's feast, a roasted pheasant, perhaps, or a rich, steaming pottage. But before any morsel can touch the royal lips, another figure steps forward, Tombad. The royal taster. The taster is not merely eating. They are performing a meticulous, silent chemical experiment with their own body as the crucible. You watch, perhaps leaning back slightly in your chair, as the servant carefully slices a piece of the succulent meat, or ladles a portion of the thick, fragrant soup into a smaller, separate dish. The taster then takes a deliberate bite, a slow, almost ceremonial chew. The sound of their mastication is clear in the quiet room, a soft, rhythmic grinding that seems to stretch time itself. And then you wait. The king waits. Everyone in the room waits. The silence in the dining hall becomes profound, broken only by the soft tick-tock of a grand-grandfather clock in the corner. Each second, a tiny hammer blow against the stretched fabric of anticipation. You might find your gaze fixed on the taster's face, searching for the slightest flicker of discomfort, a sudden pallor, a tremor in their hand. Is there a faint flush, a subtle tightening of the jaw? Is their breathing too shallow or too deep? Every minute that passes without incident is a small victory, a quiet release of held breath. The food, once a source of pleasure, is now an object of intense scrutiny. The rich aromas previously inviting now carry a hidden tension. You might imagine the faint scent of herbs and spices, mingled with the almost imperceptible metallic tang of fear. The clinking of the taster's silver fork against the ceramic plate, a delicate, almost musical sound, punctuates the heavy stillness. It is a slow, deliberate process, sometimes lasting several minutes for each dish, ensuring that any potential poison has ample time to take effect. Only when the taster has swallowed, waited, and shown no signs of distress, no sudden cough, no involuntary gasp, no alarming change in complexion formed. Only then can the king finally lift his own fork. The meal, once a simple act of sustenance, is transformed into a prolonged act of trust, a daily gamble where the stakes are life itself. It is a slow, methodical dance with death, performed before every single meal. From the watchful waiting of the taster, we transition to an even more intimate, almost alchemical defense, one taken personally by a king who decided to make poison his daily companion. This brings us to Mithridates VI, the king of Pontus, a figure so obsessed with poison that he turned it into a ritual of self-preservation, a practice known as Mithridatism. His mornings were not merely about waking, they were about a delicate, precise dance with deadly substances. Imagine the quiet, early hours in his private chambers. The air is still, perhaps carrying the faint scent of dried herbs and metallic dust. A small ornate table is set with various vials, tiny scales, and a smooth, heavy mortar and pestle. This is where the magic, or rather the science of his survival began. You can almost hear the gentle, rhythmic scrape of the pestle against the mortar, a soft, almost sandy sound as dried herbs and roots are ground into a fine, potent powder. The rustle of the dry plant matter, the delicate crunch as it breaks down, a hushed symphony of preparation. He would meticulously measure out minute quantities of various poisons for Sivankench, a speck of that Tuvi combining them into a complex mixture. It's like an ancient pharmacist at work, but the prescription is for himself, and the dosage is designed to build immunity, not to cure. You might picture the fine powders, in shades of dull green, brown, or even a subtle gray swirling together, each grain a tiny fragment of potential death. The air around him would be thick with the faint, bitter aroma of these toxic botanicals, a smell that is both repellent and paradoxically reassuring to him. Then comes the moment of ingestion. He would take this concoction, a tiny bitter dose, a daily offering to his own survival. You might imagine the slight grimace as the powder touches his tongue, the sharp metallic tang of the poisons mingling with the earthy bitterness of the herbs. A sip of water, perhaps, to wash it down. The feeling of it sliding down the throat, a faint, almost imperceptible burning sensation, a warmth that is both physical and psychological. It is a daily reminder of the dangers that lurk, but also of his triumph over them. This wasn't just a medical practice. It was a profound daily ritual. Each morning he confronted death in its most concentrated form, and emerged slowly, incrementally stronger. The act of grinding, weighing, and swallowing became a meditative practice, a moment of profound control in a world that often felt uncontrollable. The bitter taste, once a warning, became a symbol of his resilience, a comfort. He transformed the very tools of assassination into the instruments of his own longevity. It was a strange, unsettling, yet deeply personal form of security, a daily dose of danger that promised a lifetime of safety, turning fear into a ritualized act of defiance. The quiet sounds of preparation, the bitter taste, the burning sensation tween, all woven into the fabric of a king's paranoid morning, a unique testament to his relentless will to survive. The heavy oak door, now bolted, recedes into the silent tapestry of memory. We drift from the physical barriers to the more intimate, the deeply personal defenses erected by those who sat on thrones of fear. Our journey now takes us to a different kind of sanctuary, a chamber built not just for sleep, but for an almost absolute isolation from the world's clamor and the reach of its shadows. The Sultan Abdul Hamid II, ruler of the vast Ottoman Empire in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, was a man of contrasts, a brilliant statesman, a shrewd diplomat, and surprisingly, a highly skilled carpenter. His hands, accustomed to signing decrees of empire, were equally adept at shaping wood, at understanding the precise fit of a joint, the strength of a beam. Yet, beneath this veneer of competence and creativity lay a profound, almost debilitating paranoia. The whispers of plots, the constant threat of assassination that plagued his predecessors and contemporaries, burrowed deep into his psyche. He saw enemies everywhere, in the shadows of his sprawling Yildiz palace, in the hushed conversations of his courtiers, even perhaps in the rustle of the wind outside his window. And so his carpentry skills, usually a source of quiet pleasure, were turned to a more urgent, more desperate purpose, the construction of his ultimate refuge. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of Yildiz Palace, a special chamber was conceived, a private bedroom that was less a room and more a fortress within a fortress. The walls, unlike the ornate, plaster, and lath constructions typical of the palace, were thickened, reinforced with layers of solid concrete. Imagine the slow, painstaking work, the mixing of the cement, the hauling of sand and aggregate, the heavy, rhythmic thud of the trowel as the wet, gray mixture was spread, layer upon layer, slowly hardening into an impenetrable shell. This wasn't just a wall, it was a physical manifestation of the Sultan's fear, growing thicker, more solid with each passing day. The doors, too, were unlike any other in the palace, not carved wood, embellished with intricate mother of pearl or gilded motifs, but solid steel, heavy and unyielding. The kind of steel that would resist a battering ram, that would deflect a bullet, that would stand silently against any intrusion. When these doors swung shut, they did so with a deep, resonant thud, a sound that spoke of finality, of an absolute barrier. And within these steel doors, the locks, this was where the Sultan's meticulous nature, his carpenter's eye for detail, truly came into play. He didn't trust his guards, not entirely. He didn't trust the palace engineers, not completely. He trusted only himself, his own eyes, his own hands. Each night before he retired, the Sultan would personally inspect every single locked cylinder. Picture him, a man of power kneeling before the heavy steel door, a small intricate key in his hand. You might hear the faint, almost imperceptible click. Click, click as the key slides into the mechanism. The precise, almost musical whirring of tiny brass gears, aligning, the tumblers falling into place with a series of soft, metallic whispers. He would turn the key slowly, deliberately, feeling the resistance, ensuring the smooth engagement of every pin, every spring. Perhaps he carried a small, finely crafted oil can, its spout slender as a needle. A single, glistening drop of lubricant, applied with a surgeon's precision, to ensure no squeak, no stick, no hint of vulnerability. The faint, almost industrial scent of machine oil might momentarily fill the air, a stark contrast to the perfumed silks and exotic spices of the palace. Inside this concrete bunker, a world outside simply ceased to exist. The thick concrete walls absorbed all sound, creating an almost unnatural silence. The distant sounds of the city, the murmur of the palace, the rustle of the wind through the cypress trees, all were muted, absorbed, rendered into a profound, almost suffocating quiet. Only the softest echoes of his own breath, the gentle rustle of his sleeping robes would remain. It was a space designed for absolute sonic isolation, a cocoon of silence where his paranoid mind could, perhaps, finally find a moment of respite. The thick walls were not just a physical barrier. They were a shield against the ceaseless torrent of information, the endless whispers of potential threats that plagued his waking hours. In this concrete sanctuary, even the air felt different still, heavy, almost viscous with the absence of external life. It was a self-made tomb of safety, where the only company was the meticulous perfection of his own mechanical defenses. From the quiet concrete isolation of the Sultan's chamber, we turn our attention to another form of personal defense, one that clung to the body itself, a constant heavy reminder of ever-present danger. Imagine the weight, the sheer physical burden of carrying your security with you every single moment of every day. Consider the figures of history like Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector of England, or even King James I. These were men who lived in volatile times, their power hard won, their lives constantly threatened by enemies, both visible and unseen. While kings and nobles often wore elaborate, ceremonial armor for battle or parades, some, driven by a deep-seated fear or a practical understanding of their precarious position, adopted a more subtle yet equally formidable form of protection for their daily lives. Beneath the rich, flowing silks and velvets, the elaborate lace collars and embroidered tunics, they would often wear a layer of hidden defense. This could be a finely wrought chainmail shirt, or a padded jack, a thick, quilted garment reinforced with layers of linen, felt, or even small metal plates. Picture the heavy, intricate weave of chainmail, thousands of tiny interlinked iron rings, each one a minuscule shield, collectively forming an almost impenetrable mesh. When worn, this metal fabric would settle against the body, its cool, hard surface pressing against the soft linen of an undershirt. The weight was immediate, a constant, oppressive presence. Imagine waking up, and the first sensation is the familiar, uncompromising pressure of cold iron on your chest, on your shoulders, across your back. It's a weight that never truly leaves you. Each breath becomes a slight effort, the chainmail rising and falling with the expansion and contraction of your lungs, creating a faint, almost imperceptible shish, or a delicate, dry clink, clink as the rings rub against each other. This isn't the grand, resonant clang of full plate armor. It's a more intimate, persistent sound, a quiet song of metal against metal, a constant hum of protection. As the day progresses, the metal initially cold would slowly warm from your body heat. The steel, once a chilling presence, would become almost a part of you, a second skin, heavy and unyielding. You would feel its subtle shifting with every movement, a slight jingle as you reach for a goblet, a soft rustle as you turn the pages of a document, a deeper, more pronounced metallic whisper as you rise from your chair. This constant friction, the relentless pressure, could be tiring, even chafing, a persistent reminder of the world's dangers. Yet there was also a strange comfort in it, a paradoxical sense of security. It was a shell, a personal fortress clinging to your very being. Even at night, some, consumed by their anxieties, would not shed this metallic embrace. Imagine trying to find sleep with this heavy shroud wrapped around you. The chainmail would conform to the curves of your body, pressing into your ribs, your hips, a cold, unyielding weight. Turning in bed would be an exercise in shifting a heavy metallic blanket, the rings creating a soft, almost hypnotic hiss against the straw mattress or the linen sheets. It was a constant physical manifestation of their paranoia, a heavy blanket of fear. Yet, it was also a strange form of swaddling, a protective layer that, despite its discomfort, offered a tangible sense of defense against the unseen dagger or the sudden, violent intrusion. The steel, warm from your own skin, the gentle, rhythmic friction of metal on fabric, a constant, low-frequency hum of security that lulled the anxious mind into a fitful, guarded sleep. Moving from the intimate, self-imposed confinement of body armor, we now turn to a more architectural form of surveillance, one that weaponized the very air and stone of a prison. Our journey takes us back to ancient Greece, to the city of Syracuse, ruled by the cunning and deeply suspicious tyrant Dionysius. Dionysius was a man obsessed with control, with uncovering every plot, every whisper of dissent. He sought not just to imprison his enemies, but to utterly dominate their thoughts, to strip them of any illusion of privacy, even within the confines of their cells. To achieve this, he commissioned the construction of one of the most remarkable and chilling architectural feats of the ancient world, the Ear of Dionysius. This was not a conventional prison, nor a simple dungeon. It was a massive, man-made limestone cave, carved with astonishing precision into the very rock of Syracuse. From the outside, it might have appeared as a monumental quarry, but inside, it revealed a design born of genius and paranoia. The cave was shaped like a gigantic human ear, tapering upwards to a small, almost invisible opening at the very top. Its dimensions were colossal, over 75 feet high and more than 200 feet deep, with a narrow, winding entrance that led into its cavernous interior. Imagine stepping into this colossal, echoing space. The air would be cool and damp, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient rock and stagnant water. As you walked deeper, the sounds of the outside world would diminish, replaced by the cave's own unique symphony. Water droplets, falling from the high, unseen ceiling, would hit the uneven stone floor with a delicate, rhythmic plink, 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 each tiny sound echoing and reverberating through the vast chamber, amplified and distorted by the cave's unique acoustics. The prisoners, confined deep within this limestone maw, would find themselves in a world where sound behaved strangely. The very walls were designed to be a massive natural amplifier. Every cough, every sigh, every rustle of clothing would be picked up, carried along the curved surfaces, and funneled upwards. Even the lightest whisper, a conspiratorial murmur between two desperate souls, would not remain private. The sound waves bouncing off the perfectly sculpted rock would travel with uncanny efficiency, converging at a single focal point high above. And it was there, in a small, concealed room at the very top of the ear, that Dionysius would sit. Hidden from view, peering down into the cavernous depths, he could listen. Imagine the chilling experience, the world below, a vast, echoing chamber filled with the despair and whispered secrets of his captives. From his vantage point, the faintest S of a hushed conversation, the barely audible MMM of a muttered complaint, would be magnified, brought to him with startling clarity. The individual voices would be disembodied, ghostly, yet perfectly intelligible. He could hear plots forming, grievances being aired, the intimate anxieties of men trapped in his colossal trap. The sound was not merely louder, it was transformed, given a strange ethereal quality by the rock itself. The silence in that listening chamber would be absolute, broken only by the amplified sounds from below. Perhaps he would lean closer, straining to catch a particular phrase, the faint rustle of a prisoner shifting, the subtle intake of breath before a confession. The air in his secret room might feel heavy with the weight of stolen secrets, each whisper a thread in the vast web of control he spun. This was not just about punishment, it was about psychological torment, about instilling a pervasive fear that even one's thoughts were not safe, that the very walls had ears. The ear of Dionysius was a monument to paranoia, a chilling testament to a tyrant's insatiable hunger for absolute knowledge and absolute power, delivered on the quiet, amplified breath of his captives. The earth beneath the forbidden city holds secrets deeper than any conspiracy. Imagine the sheer weight of history pressing down, not just from the grand halls above, but from the very ground you tread. The emperors of China, masters of a vast realm, lived in a constant state of vigilance, of quiet, humming paranoia that permeated every stone, every timber of their magnificent palace. Their fears were not just of what might come through the gates or over the walls, but of what might rise from beneath, the silent, insidious threat of a tunnel, dug by an unseen hand, emerging in the dead of night, directly into the imperial chambers. To counter this subterranean menace, an extraordinary defense was devised, one that lay completely hidden from view, a testament to both engineering prowess and profound suspicion. Beneath the walkways, courtyards, and especially the most sacred and private spaces of the Forbidden City, there lay not simple packed earth, but a formidable, unseen fortress. 15 layers of solid, specially crafted bricks. Not just any bricks, but what history calls golden bricks. Though their value lay not in precious metal, but in their incredible density, their meticulous construction, and the sheer labor involved in their placement. Picture the ground being excavated, not just a few feet, but many, many feet deep. A vast open wound in the earth, where countless laborers toiled in silence, their movements a slow, rhythmic dance of effort. The first layer massive, rectangular bricks, each one individually fired, pressed, and polished until its surface was as smooth and unyielding as polished stone. These were laid with painstaking precision, edge to edge, with not the slightest gap allowed. Then fine, compacted earth, hammered down with heavy mallets, creating a layer of unyielding soil. Each strike a dull, thudding sound that echoed in the deep pit. And then another layer of bricks, but this time laid in the opposite direction. Imagine the crisscrossing patterns, a massive, unseen weave of stone, interlocking, reinforcing, creating an impenetrable barrier. This wasn't merely pavement. It was an underground shield, designed to defeat any attempt at clandestine entry. Each layer of brick, then another layer of rammed earth, then another layer of bricks, until 15 distinct strata had been painstakingly completed. The process would have taken years, generations even, a slow, deliberate construction that spoke volumes about the emperor's deep-seated need for security. As you walk now across the vast courtyards of the Forbidden City, your footsteps fall upon a surface that feels utterly solid, unyielding, cold beneath your soles. There is a weight to it, a sense of immense density that goes beyond mere paving. You might hear the faint, distant echo of your own steps, a subtle resonance against the stone. But beneath that, far below, lies the true testament to imperial paranoia, those 15 layers of golden bricks. You cannot see them, but you can feel their presence, a profound, silent assurance that the ground itself is a guardian. It feels as if the entire earth has been turned into a single, colossal block of stone, anchoring the palace, insulating it from any threat that might try to creep up from the darkness below. Each step you take is supported by hundreds of tons of carefully placed material. The coldness that rises from the ground isn't just the chill of stone. It is the ancient, enduring cold of a defense mechanism designed to last for centuries. It is the feeling of absolute unyielding solidity, a reminder that some fears run so deep they require a foundation of stone, layer upon layer, until the very earth becomes an extension of the emperor's protective will. The silence of those underground layers is profound, an undisturbed stillness that has swallowed the sounds of countless footsteps, countless seasons, and countless fears. It is a silence that speaks of an ultimate, unseen barrier, a profound geological form of security. Beyond the grand halls and the visible fortifications, the most intimate spaces of these paranoid monarchs often held the most ingenious and often the most unsettling secrets. Picture a lavish royal bedchamber, perhaps in the opulent palace of Versailles, where King Louis XIV, the Sunday King himself, would retire for the night. The walls are adorned with rich tapestries, intricate wainscoting and gilded frames. A large, ornate mirror, perhaps set in a heavy carved frame, reflects the flickering candlelight, doubling the room's grandeur. It seems like any other magnificent chamber, a testament to wealth and power. But in the mind of a king who constantly felt the shadow of intrigue and assassination, even the most beautiful walls could hide a threat. And so, within these very walls, hidden in plain sight, were the gib doors. These were not doors that stood out, but doors designed to disappear, to melt seamlessly into their surroundings. Imagine running your hand along the smooth, cool surface of the wainscoting, feeling the intricate carvings, the subtle grain of the wood. You might pass right over the faint, almost imperceptible line of a door frame, a masterwork of carpentry and deception. Perhaps the mirror itself, grand and imposing, was not merely a reflection, Behind its gleaming surface, or cunningly disguised as part of its frame, lay a hidden latch, a secret button, a subtle lever. Imagine the king in the quiet solitude of his chamber, his retinue dismissed, his guards posted outside. He approaches the seemingly solid wall, his hand moving with practiced ease to a specific point. A gentle push, a precise turn, and with a soft, almost inaudible click, a suction of the wall, or perhaps the mirror and its frame, swings inward. There is no dramatic creak, no loud groan of hinges. Instead, a subtle rush of air, a change in atmospheric pressure as the hidden door glides open. It might reveal not another opulent room, but a narrow, unlit space. A secret passageway, a tiny concealed staircase spiraling downwards or upwards, lit only by the faint glow of a carefully placed candle, or perhaps the small steady flame of a lamp carried by the king himself. The air in these secret passages is different. It is cooler, perhaps a little musty, carrying the scent of old wood, stone, and undisturbed dust. It's a dry, quiet smell, distinct from the perfumed air of the main palace. As the king slips through the opening, the hidden door swings silently back into place, leaving no trace of its existence. He is gone, vanished into the very fabric of the palace. The passage is cramped, designed for function rather than comfort. His robes might brush against the rough stone walls, creating a soft, rustling sound that echoes faintly in the confined space. Each step on the narrow, winding stairs is deliberate, a soft padding sound on ancient stone or worn wood. This secret space is a stark contrast to the grandeur he has left behind. No gilded ceilings, no elaborate frescoes, no bustling courtiers. Here, there is only the quiet certainty of solitude. It is a small, protective box within the vast, echoing shell of the palace. In this intimate, hidden sanctuary, perhaps he can truly unburden himself, if only for a few moments. The sounds of the palace, the distant calls of guards, the faint music from a reception, all become muffled, distant, like echoes from another world. Only the soft glow of his candle illuminates the path, casting long, dancing shadows on the rough, hewn walls. The silence here is profound, broken only by his own steady breathing, the soft rustle of his clothing, and the gentle patter of his feet. This is where the king, for a fleeting moment, can be just a man, shielded by layers of stone and cunning design, hidden even from his own shadow. All of these elaborate, often extreme measures, the heavy bolts, the singing floors, the secret tunnels, the iron spiders, the ritual of the taster, the daily dose of poison, the concrete bunkers, the armor beneath the silk, the acoustic prisons, the 15 layers of stone, the hidden doors behind mirrors, all of them converged on a single fundamental human need, the ability to sleep, to truly rest, to allow the conscious mind to recede, to surrender to vulnerability without fear. Imagine the monarch, exhausted by a day filled with court intrigue, weighty decisions, and the constant subtle hum of paranoia. He has navigated a world where every smile could hide a dagger, every meal a poison, every shadow a threat. Now, as the deep blue of twilight settles over the palace, he prepares for the night. He knows the great oak door to his bedchamber has been secured, the heavy bolts sliding home with a reassuring thud. He imagines the guards stationed at every corner, their silent patrols a rhythmic reassurance in the vast, echoing corridors. The Nightingale Floors he trusts will sing their warning if any footstep dares to stray. He has witnessed the ritual of the taster, a slow, deliberate dance of consumption and waiting, ensuring that his evening meal carries no hidden venom. Perhaps he has already taken his daily dose of Mithridatism, a bitter, metallic taste still lingering, a quiet reminder of his self-forged immunity. His chamber walls, thick with concrete or reinforced with hidden steel, offer a silent, unyielding embrace, muffling the sounds of the outside world. Beneath his silken nightclothes, the familiar, comforting weight of his chainmail might still press against his skin, a second skin of protection that has become almost imperceptible. He lies down on his bed, perhaps a grand canopied affair, or a simpler, more secure cot in a hidden concrete room. The soft rustle of the sheets is the only sound. His eyes close, and the world begins to recede. The layers of defense are like the layers of an onion, each one peeled back to reveal a deeper core of security, until he is at the very center, insulated, isolated, protected. The sounds of the palace fade into a distant murmur, then into nothingness. The chill of the stone, the scent of dust, the memory of iron suvi, all dissolve into the soft warmth of the bed. His breathing deepens, each inhalation a quiet intake of safety, each exhalation a release of vigilance. The thoughts that race through his mind all day, the suspicions, the strategies, the fears, slowly begin to unravel, to lose their sharp edges, to drift away like smoke. He is alone, truly alone in the profound quiet that only absolute isolation can bring. No one can reach him here. No whispered plots can penetrate these walls. No assassins can breach these floors. No poison can touch his lips. The world outside, with all its dangers and demands, is held at bay by a fortress of stone, steel, and unyielding will. And so, his consciousness begins its slow descent, a gentle, effortless glide into the depths of sleep. The heavy weight of his crown, the burden of his paranoia, the constant need for alertness paranoia. All of it lifts, replaced by a profound, almost spiritual stillness. He is protected, secure, finally able to let go. Allow your own breath to deepen now, just as his did. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest, a steady rhythm of peace. Let the sounds around you soften, become distant, like the echoes in a long-forgotten castle. Imagine yourself at the very core of this stillness, surrounded by quiet, by comfort, by absolute safety. There are no threats here, no demands, no need for vigilance. Only the profound, enveloping calm of rest. Your mind is quiet, your body is heavy, your eyelids are soft. Drift now, deeper and deeper, into the embrace of this perfect, untroubled sleep. Let go, release, and simply rest.